ISO 27001 Annex A 7.2 physical entry. So we continue our journey through these physical security controls, the implementation of physical security into your organization. Each one is going to build pretty much upon the last. They form a cohesive approach to physical security. Here we're looking at physical entry. What do we mean by physical entry? The standard specifically is looking for secure areas should be protected by appropriate entry controls and access points, right? I mean, this is straightforward. We've just gone through having a perimeter. If you have a security perimeter, you've got to have a way of getting in, right? And out, clearly, right? You're not just going to have a massive wall around this thing. So what we're looking at is the entry points. Again, based on risk, based on the classification of data, based on various factors that are associated with you. The basic concept is you have an entry point. Then what you're going to do is risk assess it, and then you're going to put some controls around that entry point. So let's have a little look at the kind of considerations that we've got. Considerations, again, proportionate to size. Some of these may be outsourced if you're in a shared office. If you're in a dedicated office that you own and run, then you may want to consider these in there. So we've got consideration about a reception area. You know, having an entry point with a reception area that's manned and monitored. There's quite a few things that go around that manned and monitored reception area. You know, you're then looking at things like visitors' books, signing people in, signing people out, people being escorted, people being allocated with visitors' badges and badges. But for this particular control, we're looking at the consideration of a manned reception area. Consider if appropriate, you know, the standard says consider searching people, right? I wouldn't search people. I think this is overkill, right? I mean, it may be a situation that what you are doing will facilitate and require that, but on the whole, 99% of people are not searching people, right? You're just not doing it. Take into account shared access with other organizations. So again, if you are outsourcing if you are outsourcing this, if you are buying a contract for a shared office, then again, think about how you differentiate between the employees of other organizations and yours, and then what level of access restriction you have. Are you just on an open floor? And therefore you are relying on compensating controls, or do you have some control over it and some zoning over it that allows access to your own individual area? So take into consideration that. Have identification for staff and visitors. So that again comes back to the identification badges, really. Looking at implementing badges, you're going to say to me, look, we're only two to 10 people, and it's not appropriate, and that's fine. This isn't a checklist of you must do. This is a checklist of considerations. There may still be value in doing visitors badges, even if you are a small organization, if you are in a shared work environment, so that you can easily distinguish, you know, visitors that are appropriate to you, and you can see who it is that's coming around. But again, you've got to work that out for yourself. You want secure entry points such as emergency access in a way that is legal and safe. So you've got to make sure that we're referencing back is in the last control with our legal department, and we're making sure we meet the law, right? Health and safety. Doors that fail open. In the event of a fire alarm, we're not trapping people inside. This can be considerations. Let's have a think about things like on-premises data centers, and I've seen this as well, right? There's a lot of work usually, and used to, if it's still the case for you, goes into things like fire suppression. So you have an office, your data center is in the cloud, your data center is within the building, you've put some perimeter security around that, you're now looking at entry points for that. You put all your fire suppression in there and the gases that come down with a 5-second warning, but your doors don't fail open, right? Absolutely horrendous scenario. You do not want that scenario to be in place. So think about the legal requirements that you've got to keep people safe. Think about different technologies that can come into play. The world moves on, right? The world moves on. If we have a physical entry, yes, you've got locks, you've got the old-fashioned digit keypads, you've got biometrics now, you've got remote digital locks that can be implemented. So think about the kind of entry controls that are proportionate and appropriate to you. And it could be the case, again, depending on risk, that you implement more than one. My perspective is keep it simple, but have a consideration for that. And have a process for the management of any physical keys. So if your entry points rely on keys, then you need to figure out how to manage those, right? You're going to end up with big bunches of keys. And again, I've seen that, keys lying around the place, keys that people don't know what the keys are, in offices where you have a kitchen or a shared kitchen just thrown in a drawer or thrown on the side. You need to think then about the management of those keys. Who has a key? Who has a backup key? Are you looking at things like the implementation of a key safe, signing in keys, signing out keys? So there's a little bit more complexity that goes around that needs some consideration and documentation, but have a think about keys when it comes to those physical locks. So your access process, you're going to define, write and sign off. Then you're going to implement an access process based on risk and need, taking into account how you grant access, change access, how you revoke access, and how you review access. So if you want some more guidance on this, refer back to the tutorial that we did on access control when we were looking at systems. It's the same principles, the same approaches. We're just now looking at physical access. So we want to look at how we're going to go about doing that. The review of access should be done regularly, and by regularly, that's going to be proportionate to you. I'd probably say monthly, quarterly, half yearly, annually, we're okay. The more regularly you review these keys, then the better. Keys also would need to be included in your HR return process, right? Or any access, in fact, all access. As part of your lever process, when we went through levers, physical access has to be part of that, how you revoke that and how you manage that. So topic specific environmental and security policy, consideration around reception areas, consideration around visitors and visitors badges, alarms, monitors, implementation of physical keys and the management of those if we need them. CCTV, the implementation of CCTV can come with more challenges. Let's have a sidebar on that. CCTV in an organization is subject to a huge amount of law, whether or not you're filming and recording inside, whether you're recording staff, where and how you're doing that. From a data protection point of view, all of the protections that go around that, and letting the data subjects know what their rights are, their right to access, their right to deletion. So if you do CCTV, it's not a quick, easy win. It is going to need the help of some legal support and probably a data protection professional to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. And again, we've seen this where CCTV is filming out onto a public highway or a public street. Again, that can get you into a lot of difficulty. Then you've got the processes that you're going to need to write around how do you retrieve that, how do you access that, who does that, how long do you keep it for. So quite a lot of consideration. I'm not going to go into that in detail here. I will do another tutorial on CCTV, but be aware of it. And the standard also gives guidance on secure areas, right? So secure areas are areas within an area, right? A secure area is somewhere that, you're potentially storing confidential data, pay checks, laptops that are no longer in use, storage areas of devices that you no longer need. So secure areas. So you need to think about on-premise secure areas and that segregation from the general populace. And again, like admin accounts or global accounts that we've covered in access control, there's a little bit more that you want to be making sure that you've got in here. You can evidence who has access to the secure area, when they've had access to it, how long they get access to it, how you revoke that access, how you make sure that access is revoked when that person leaves as part of your HR leaver process. And secure areas, clearly when it comes to the audit, is going to be one that an audit is going to look for, right? I mean, they're going to try the door, they're going to try and get access to it, they're going to try and circumnavigate the controls that you've got, and then they're going to want to see evidences and documentation that backs up those processes that go around it. So physical entry isn't, again, it's not particularly hard. I seem to be repeating myself on how unhard these things are. If I was a small organization, nice and easy, we'd just have a lockable door and staff would have access to it, or an enter card or whatever it may be. Nice and easy, all the way up to, you're working in pharmaceuticals or you're working in military or government, where there may be some additional considerations that you're going to put in there. What do I mean by that? I've seen the situation, for example, you can't go through an entry point until you've handed in your mobile phone, and there's a process that you need to do around that, and we'll look at that on another tutorial. Physical entry, nice and easy. Make sure your physical entries are secure and you're going to be absolutely golden. My name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja, and until the next tutorial, peace out.